throws, swings.
There it is, there it is, get out, get out, all right.
Hit number 4192.
Swing on and miss. And Tom Browning has pitched a perfect game.
And a high fly ball, center field. He hit it a ton. It's gone. And the 2010 Central Division Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds. And Homer Bailey has pitched a no-hitter.
You're listening to the Redlegs Radio Report with Jason and Todd on Bowling Green's home of the Reds, ESPN Radio. And now, the PA voice of Western Kentucky Hilltoppers baseball, and a guy that names his dogs after famous Reds.
That's right. It is the Redlegs Radio Report, as our good buddy Josie says. Jason Harbison, Todd Smith with you. Second week back. Does it feel like baseball is going to be here, Todd? I mean, is it surreal to you that it's this late in the season and we're finally just now getting to baseball?
I'm not sure how to feel about it. It's Friday, correct?
Yes, next Friday, the 24th, will be the first game. You can actually hear it here on ESPN 102.7. So it is surreal. Now, there's a couple games that they're doing this thing. I don't know if you saw on their Twitter page or their Facebook page that it's called like the Reds Ballers versus the Freds Reds. It's kind of like these inter-squad games. And I believe tonight's game, or I guess inter-squad game, if you will, is on Reds.com. And I think I saw a tweet from Chris. I'm pretty sure. I may have been dreaming. I don't know. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. But Chris Welsh put out a tweet saying that he's actually going to be in the booth calling the game. So that'll be interesting. You can actually watch that or stream that live. It's not going to be on Fox Sports or anything like that, but it's going to be out over the interwebs, as we like to say.
Good.
So that'll be interesting.
Spring training for the announcers, too.
Yeah. Spring training. Well, it's actually, they're calling it, as you know, because we're copied on the emails, they're branding it as summer camp. It's not spring training 2.0, it's summer camp. Okay. So they've got all kinds of MLB branding behind. This isn't the Reds. This is MLB that they're branding everything. Because everything's got to have a brand. It's got to have a logo, which I understand. I mean, I'm always making logos all the time for our show and put it on Twitter. I have done so many Google logos of our logo, if you will, on Twitter that it's crazy. Like, remember when Prince died a couple years ago? I turned this into like some of his famous songs. I put like a purple, kind of this flowy, piratey kind of purple suit or whatever that Prince wore on it. So yeah, I've been known to do that. So I can't fault anybody for having a weird logo, especially Major League Baseball. But anyway, check us out online, ESPNradio1027.com. Also available in podcast form and on iTunes. Our past shows are in archive, including last week's first show back that we had the Cowboy on with us. That was a really good show. If you missed that, you can check it out there or just subscribe on all of the different platforms that you can subscribe to, and it just comes essentially right into your library there. Also, our Facebook page, which is Redlegs Radio Report, and Twitter at Redlegs Radio Rep. Now, today, Todd, we have coming up a guy that I didn't really know a lot about. I'd heard his name mentioned around, but he is a Kentucky native, and he's a Reds pitcher. Nate Jones is coming on the show with us. Yeah.
Nice.
So he, of course, in doing research, believe it or not, we do some research or some show prep, believe it or not. I know it's hard to believe on this show.
I know it doesn't sound like
I know it really doesn't sound. People are like, wait a minute. They sound like they just walked in off of Scottsville Road here and just kind of, actually, I guess it's Campbell Lane. I'm sorry. I don't know my roads very well here in Bowling Green. They just walked in off Campbell Lane, and they're...
I understand you've only lived here,
21 years, thanks.
21 years.
Yeah. Why would he know where anything is? Why would he know the street names? Yeah, it's not like I've ever had to tell people where to pick up their prizes or anything, give directions on air. It's like, so we're in this studio. It's off this big road here. We always say Marty and Liz, behind Marty and Liz's shoes. That's where all the stations are that you can come pick up your prize or your tickets that you won.
Yeah, that road over there on that side of town. That one.
The one that goes straight. It kind of goes straight. And there's cars on both sides of it, and
then it kind of curves.
It curves a little bit, and there's like a Kroger down at the other end or something. I think I don't know. But anyway, yes, we do. He just said do show prep, and Nate's got a really interesting story. So he grew up in the Covington kind of northern Kentucky area, and he also was drafted right. He went to the NKU Norse, the Northern Kentucky University Norse. That's up there. They got a really good basketball team that usually makes the NCAA tournament every year. He played for them in baseball, was a phenom coming up through there. Some scouts kind of paid attention to him, came to a lot of the games, and he ends up getting drafted pretty high by the White Sox. And he comes up through the White Sox, middle relief guy, gets injured, and he's really had to overcome a lot of injuries. He had Tommy John surgery a couple years ago. What's also really interesting, I did not know this, when he was playing for the Kannapolis Intimidators, which they've now changed their name to, of course, because that was after like Dale Earnhardt. They were called the Intimidators because that's, I guess, where he's from. And they played the Hot Rods. And in the first game ever at Bowling Green Ballpark, he was there because he was on the Kannapolis Intimidators. So back in that would have been in 2009 when the Bowling Green Ballpark opened up.
Small world.
It is. And now here's even more trivia for you, useless information. The Kannapolis Intimidators are no longer the Intimidators. They changed their name to the Cannonballers. They're the Kannapolis Cannonballers. So they're, again, back to logos here because I know this is such a visual medium, but you'll have to look it up and maybe I'll tweet it out later, but it's like a big cannonball. Think of like a circus where a guy gets shot out of a cannon. I don't know if Kannapolis is like known for like building... Maybe they're like the home of the circus or something. Who knows? Because a lot of minor league teams' names, like the Hot Rods.
Maybe the most famous guy that ever got shot out of a cannon was from there. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, seriously though, that's how a lot of teams come up with their names because it's like, for instance, the Modesto Nuts out in California. They're like a high A team for the class high A for I think the Oakland A's, but they're known as the Nuts because like I guess pistachios and almonds are indigenous to that region there, so they're known as the Nuts. Again, here with Bowling Green, we're known for Corvettes and hot rods out at Beach Bend, so we're the Hot Rods. So it makes sense because it's something that kind of draws and attracts people to the area. So we'll have to look that up to see if the Cannonballers, like you said, the first guy that got shot out of a cannon, I don't know, maybe Carnivals originated there in Kannapolis. Who knows? Who knows? But for those of you that have tuned in for Reds Talk and didn't want to hear us talk about minor league logos,
or people being shot out of a
people
cannon.
being shot out of a cannon, let's get talking about Reds because I could talk about minor league logos and what the team names mean. And one more, Montgomery Biscuits down in Montgomery. They've got like a little biscuit guy.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a really cool one. And I think really more. I said one more. I'm going to go on. Really more than anything, it's about selling merchandise and having like a really cool logo. A couple years ago, the Reds had a minor league affiliate in Double-A called the Blue Wahoos, which is like this kind of big ocean-y kind of fish, kind of like a marlin down there in Pensacola. So got a lot of really cool logos.
Yeah,
and
that was a really good logo. I should have got a hat or something.
Yeah, I got a hat a couple years ago. And then, of course, the Daytona Tortugas, which is like, I guess, essentially the Spanish name for a turtle, and they've got like a really cool logo too. They were their Double-A affiliate. They're still, I guess, I don't know if they're high A affiliate for the Reds, but anyway, there's no minor leagues this year, so it does matter, but it doesn't matter that much as far as like logos go. But again, visual medium here on the radio. What a great way to talk about it. So Nate's coming up on the show a little bit later. He's got a really interesting story, so don't miss that. Just to kind of reset, of course, we said that the Reds are playing next Friday, July 24th. That's 5:10 Central, our time, versus the Tigers. And if you're not familiar with the format this year on the 60-game shortened season, it's Central versus Central, West versus West across kind of the AL and the NL. But of the 60 games, 40 of those games will be against your in-division rivals, i.e. the Pirates, Cardinals, so on and so forth, the Brewers. And then,
did you say 40?
Yeah, 40 games.
40, okay.
And then 20 games will be against your AL same division. Basically, so the Central's playing the Central, West playing the West, East playing the East. So that kind of thing, if that makes any sense. And then even more news. We talked about this last week about how some teams were talking about putting in some kind of crowd noise to kind of pump up the crowd. Well, we didn't know at the time if the Reds were doing it, but the Reds are doing it now, as well as all Major League Baseball teams will be pumping in crowd noise from all things a video game, the MLB The Show. I don't know much about it. I don't know if your son still plays video games or not. But
I've actually played it.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah. I played it like years ago. I haven't played like the 2020 version of it or whatever. I probably had the 2009 or I don't even know if there was a 2009 version of that. Who knows? But anyway, they're
yeah, probably.
So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, pumping in crowd noise, it's I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably more to help the players than anything.
Yeah, it probably seems silly, but it's also going to sound silly, with an empty stadium and echoes, and you're probably going to hear too much from out of the mouths of the players and coaches. And
yeah, you don't want to hear them cussing out an umpire behind home plate or whatever. Well, actually, you can't do that now because you'll get immediately ejected because of COVID. You can't get up. You can't do the Earl Weaver where you get up in their face and turn your hat backwards kind of thing because you could be spitting on them and spreading the coronavirus. So
I guess
immediate ejection. But one of our favorite players in interviews as well, Jesse Winker. Did you see the clip of him doing this?
I did not see that.
Yeah, it was hilarious. So they were kind of working on pumping up the crowd noise, I guess, if you will. So essentially, there's going to be a guy up in the control booth, and when a good play happens, it's kind of like what we do here. You hit a hotkey, and the next thing you know, people are cheering or whatever. So it's something like, "Oh, look, here's a shot down the line." Okay, it won't be like that kind of cheer. That's more of like but it'll be something
more of like REO Speedwagon just walked out.
Yeah, that's like a slow build type thing. But they'll play that. So what Jesse Winker did is he made just like a routine. He was playing left field and he just made a routine catch out there. A fly ball came to him, and then they had pumped up the crowd noise like and he tips his cap and he kind of turns to all the non-fans and kind of turns around to the outfield stands and then to the the left field stands and tips his cap to everybody. So,
like he made a game-saving catch.
Yeah, like some game-saving catch.
He's funny.
Oh, I mean, was it last year where he was like trolling all of the Mets fans that were just like giving him an earful out there in left field, and he made these like diving catches down the line. And as he made I think it was like the final out of one game, he does a little like kind of troll wave, like hey, just like that really over the top kind of like he's on the back of a float in a 4th of July parade or something. He's just doing that little obnoxious wave. And then weren't you saying one time he had like nachos or something? Or he was going for a foul ball?
Yes. I think he was near the stands and made a catch, where he had to reach into the stands and kind of reached for someone's nachos. I don't think he took one. But
that's pretty awesome, though.
He should have.
Yeah, I mean, here we are talking about the cannonballers and cool things about baseball. But I mean that's going to stick out to me. So who knows if there's going to be more stuff like that? But a couple of years ago, I believe it was the Orioles and White Sox played in an empty stadium. I think it was like 2014, 2015 or something. It was during the time that they had all of those race riots in Baltimore. So Major League Baseball shut down the entire stadium. Of course, it would have been Camden Yards there, and had no fans, and the only people that could watch were the media. So they didn't have any pumped-in crowd noise because they didn't really know. They didn't have time to prepare to, I guess, put in their MLB game 2014 or 2015 or whatever, the show or whatever it's called, to put in there to kind of get some background noise going. But I remember watching that game, and you can actually look it up. It's still on YouTube, that like anytime a foul ball, like those plastic seats, and they're just like anytime foul balls go into the stands all the time, you just hear this like thud,
Yeah.
Home runs were just, you'd hear the crack of the bat, it hit a chair out there. You hear just this thud. And I mean, I understand why they would want the crowd noise because, I don't know, if you just hit a home run and it was just like, nothing.
I'm sure it will help with the player morale a little bit, but, essentially, in the end, there's really nobody there. Who knows how it'll work? We've never
really experienced anything like this.
Other than the Camden Yards deal.
Yeah.
Never really experienced it.
Well, and
I think that was just a 3-game series probably.
Yeah, I don't even think it was just for like a small amount of time. And there were actually more fans. There were a bunch of fans that were trying to look from like, I don't know, I'm not familiar with the layout of Camden Yards there, but I think they've got like a kind of a fence in the outfield, like maybe down one line or something that you can kind of see part of the field in, and there were people just congregating out there, and which begs the question, I wonder will there be people, can you actually see like out in, I guess you can't see down into the field from any like outside a gate at Great American Ballpark, can you? Maybe out in the outfield there down the left field line? I'm not, we never go in that entrance there, so I don't know.
Yeah.
You might be able to see part of it.
Know.
Who knows? Yeah. And I guess a bigger, dumber question, are any of those skyscrapers, can you look down into the stadium? Could like some of those...
No, I would think you could do that.
Some of those businesses, I don't I know you used to be able to, because I remember one time I went to a wedding in downtown Cincinnati, and they had like the reception, and you could, of course, it was all different configuration when Riverfront Stadium was there, but you could actually see down into Riverfront. We could see part of it. It was so funny, like all these guys.
Fifth Third, that's right. I think the Fifth Third building you could probably see if that's the one I'm thinking about.
Was that the one during the All-Star game where they put like the Mr. Redlegs, like the mustache on it or whatever, with like the pillbox hat? Remember they painted some of the windows.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's. I'm not sure. We need an investigative reporter on this. We need somebody to go up to the top of all of these skyscrapers and tell us if they can see down into Great American Ballpark.
I'm sure they're going to get right on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe there's some money to be made, maybe some of those corporations that have those big skyscrapers are like, yeah, we'll sell some seats here at some social distance so you can look down in there. Of course, you'd have to have like, I guess, the radio feed on or something to hear what's going on. Or, well, I guess if you couldn't see every little aspect of the game, if you can only see maybe one portion of the field, but who knows? I've never been up there. So
it's going to be a weird season.
It really is. Well, kind of and along those lines, too, some of the other rules that we didn't talk about. There's no high fives, no fist bumps, no fights, obviously, no rear kind of pats, those kind of deals there. So
does that mean they condone fighting before?
It was okay to fight, which is funny, not funny, because Strop and Amir Garrett are on the same team now. Wasn't he the one a couple years ago for the? Actually, was it last year with the Pirates? He was one of the guys that kind of was taken on when Amir Garrett decided to take on the entire Pirates team when Puig was still with them early last season.
Yeah,
it was Strop.
Called Puig names or something, called him an idiot,
and now they're in the same bullpen together. So we'll see how that pans out throughout the season. But no high fives, rear pat, and it's immediate ejection if you argue with the umps, because you can't just turn around and like get up in their faces. We were saying Earl Weaver style. So a lot of aspects taken out of it, but. You're right. So fighting was okay before. Now it's not. So,
and no rear pats. I see.
Yeah, you can't do I guess, and no fist bumps. So I guess do you like do the little elbow thing? I guess, just like kind of tap elbows like people are doing now.
What would rear pats cause? I mean, I
don't know. I'm not sure. I guess it's just like the social distancing, but really you're gonna. So say you're Joey Votto in your first base, and there's a guy.
How
that's
do you social distance from the catcher when you're hitting?
Yeah, I guess you don't. I don't know.
How does the catcher social distance from the ump?
These are all great questions that I don't know how they'll. Well, I did watch some of the clips of some of the games that were being played. Not games, excuse me, some of the scrimmages that were being played, and they actually had one of the coaches. They don't have any umpires there, but the coaches would like actually wear one of those surgical masks, and you'd see them like calling balls and strikes during some of these. So it was interesting. I don't know if the umps will be doing that under their mask, wearing a mask under their mask. But again, if you've got Joey Votto at first base, and you got a guy diving back in to grab onto first base, he's going to tap him, with the ball, even if he's safe or he's out or whatever. You're going to tap him.
Speaking of that, does that mean Joey Votto can't talk to every single person that comes to first base? Hey, that's too close.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, love to hear about your family. Can't talk. Sorry.
Wow.
Yeah.
He may have to concentrate on the game for 5 seconds.
Well, some of the guys I've seen during the workouts have been wearing the masks and stuff, so I don't know if that's going to translate into games or not. If you're going to see that more and more, who knows? We'll find out next week, and maybe actually, if I can tune into that game tonight at 5:10 Central Time on Reds.com, maybe we'll get some more answers to that. So looking forward to that. The Ballers versus Fred's Reds. Fred's Reds. Well, we're going to take a break here on the Redlegs Radio Report, but coming up after the break, we have got Reds pitcher Nate Jones coming up here on 102.7 and 102.7.com.
And McCarty's coming in from the bullpen with no warm-up. I cannot believe this. We've never seen a pitcher come to the mound without warming up. Let's see what happens. Whoa, there's a long one. Oh, and another. Whoa, that's 7 home runs this inning. If he would have only warmed up. In baseball, pitchers don't take the mound without warming up. So why would you take chances with your air conditioner when you need to cool down? Don't wait until it gets hot. Turn to the experts. Clean and service your unit today with Bowling Green Refrigeration, your authorized Carrier dealer. Bowling Green Refrigeration can service your Carrier unit and all other major units. Set up an appointment today. 270-782-5391. With a clean Carrier unit, there'll be no surprises this summer. Bowling Green Refrigeration. Your comfort is their concern.
Gary Force Paint and Body Shop stands with Southern Kentucky in this pandemic because they know if you've ever driven in Bowling Green, you can survive anything. A natural name change? I just don't see a one there. It's just I-6, an entire Fountain Square renovation. Oh, there's a spot. Park over there. And, of course, the roundabout.
Hey, I think I finally got this whole roundabout thing down.
We made it through that, and we'll make it through this. Together. Gary Force Paint and Body Shop, Bowling Green's ICAR Gold Certified body shop that works with all major insurance, behind the post office on Vanderbilt Drive. Watching new movies on demand demands Poston Electronics. Now that Hollywood's skipping the theater, choose Postons for big picture, big clarity, and big screen sound at home. While the theater's closed, Poston Electronics renovated and expanded, bringing Southern Kentucky more at home and on the go. It's what they've done since 1974, just bigger. Forget tickets for the family. Think of what you'll save on popcorn. On Demand is here to stay. For your home theater, demand Poston Electronics across from Firestone on Broadway Avenue.
Diversity, leadership, education. These are the values the Bowling Green Warren County NAACP strive for. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People is the oldest civil rights organization in America, founded on tolerance and brotherhood for people of all races, genders, ages, and backgrounds. Our local branch is working hard to make our community a better place, but we need your help. To learn more, you can call us at 270-573-1909 or log on to our website, naacpbgwc.org.
You know that the ice cream scoop can make a child smile, and that by slowing us down, the traffic light can keep us going. You know that the lawnmower makes life easier, that the blood bank makes life possible. But did you know all these ideas came from the minds of African Americans? Support the United Negro College Fund, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Visit uncf.org or call 1-800-332-UNCF. Brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Redlegs Radio Report. Jason Harbison, Todd Smith with you on this Saturday morning. Yeah, little Genesis for you, Todd.
All right.
Yeah, kind of a slow build, if you will, to this. So it's just, yeah. It's called Turn It On Again. It's a good song.
I forgot about this song.
Yeah. It's from their album Duke. I don't know. I've been in a Genesis mood for a while. Maybe for the rest of the day we'll play some Genesis songs. I don't know. Coming back from commercial. Who knows? Again, people tune in for Reds. They hear us talk about the song that we're coming back from commercial with. We're going to deviate. We're not going to do that as much. I mean, we did talk about it a little bit. But so we got Reds pitcher and Kentucky native Nate Jones coming on a little bit later here on the Redlegs Radio Report. We're going to break down in the show a little bit later the guys that we think will be starting this coming Friday, of course, which is on July 24th, 5:10 Central Time versus the Tigers. Before we get into our interview with Nate, let's talk a little bit about the starting pitching that is going on with the Reds. I say going on, but they're the third best rotation in all Major League Baseball right now, behind Washington and Tampa Bay. So that's not a bad starting rotation. If you look at it now, they've got Sonny Gray, who's going to be starting on Friday for the opening game, and as well as Castillo, Trevor Bauer, Wade Miley, DeSclafani. That's pretty much rounds out your starting five. And then you've got Malley and Sims, who could be very pivotal. Those are guys that have been starters in the past but aren't quite there to take the starting five spots, but could be very, very pivotal because of, as we were saying last week, Todd, if these pitchers only go a couple innings due to kind of not being stretched out 100% yet because they kind of stopped with the spring training, had all that time off, weren't really up to game speed, and these 3 weeks before the season starts back, they may not be ready to go. They may only go 3 or 4 innings. So that's where I think Malley and Sims are really going to come in handy because they're going to eat up a lot of those middle innings. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, they're really good at. Malley is a little inconsistent. Actually, both of them have been.
Mm-hmm.
but when they're on, they're really good. Especially Sims. I think he has enough pitches that he has a little bit of an edge on Malley, and sometimes they'll figure Malley out. But to have those two guys in the middle relief spots is awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's, as we often say, it's a good problem to have. You got Trevor Bauer in there. Of course, Miley, he's kind of I don't want to say the unknown, but new to the Reds, a big pickup that they got. DeSclafani, I think, is ready for a breakout season, and you know that Gray and Castillo are always just going to be your 1-2, just 1-2 punch there. Sonny Gray, of course, who was on with us this past Reds Caravan from the Nashville area. Really, really great guy. It was funny, he came down here, and of course, as you were saying last week, it seems like eons ago, but came down here, and it was right when the Titans were in the playoffs and went pretty deep in the playoffs. He was wearing like a Titans hat.
Yeah.
And we were talking to him, and we said, I know you're going to Nashville tomorrow, but I hate to say it, you're not going to be the biggest draw down in excuse me.
Yeah, he was okay with that.
Yeah, I think so. Being a Nashville guy, of course, went to Vanderbilt as well. I got to kind of rewind here a little bit. So we were talking before the break about how it would be cool if you could get in one of those skyscrapers and kind of look down into Great American Ballpark. One of the managers here, our good buddy Greg Bowen, texted me during the break. He says, "I volunteer to watch from afar and investigate." So he wants to be that guy. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Greg's probably got more pull than we do. So he could probably make a couple calls to the Reds, or maybe one of those, I guess, businesses down there or whoever has.
I knew somebody would do it.
Yeah. I would like to volunteer Greg to do that. I mean, he's already raising his hand, so I think he'd be a great candidate to be able to watch those games. That'd be awesome. That'd be so awesome. He can report back like every week to the show and tell us what happened. It's like, well, I was up on the 80th floor there. I couldn't really see down that well.
It still looked like an ant.
Looked like a bunch of ants around there, but man, it looked awesome. I'd actually, we're not making fun of it, but I'd actually love to do that. That'd be cool just to have as a cool story like that. So we're going to get to our Nate Jones interview here. Great guy. If you don't know anything about his backstory, just listen in because it's a great story, and I found out a lot about him, a lot of information that I didn't know, especially about him being down here playing at the first game ever at Bowling Green Stadium. Our guest today is a Northern Kentucky native from Covington and a graduate of Pendleton County High in Falmouth, Kentucky, where he went to college at Northern Kentucky University, and he made his MLB debut in 2012 with the White Sox. From 2012 to 2019, he had a 318 strikeout rate, which is the highest total of any relief pitcher over those 8 seasons with the White Sox. This January, he signed with the Reds with a minor league contract and an invite to the MLB camp. Please welcome to the Redlegs Radio Report, Nate Jones. Nate, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing good. Thank you for that amazing intro there, Jason. It really pumped me up there.
Okay, well, we did a little research on that, so I appreciate you coming on today. So we'll get right to it. So what really does it mean for you, Nate, to be signed by essentially your hometown team, being from Northern Kentucky, as well as I've read was basically your favorite team growing up?
Yeah, that's correct. I got to come to both Riverfront for a little bit and Great American Ballpark here when it was brand new. One of the things we did in school, I guess, when you got either like a straight A and B honor roll or perfect attendance, one of the prizes or one of the things they gifted you was, a couple tickets to a Reds game. And so growing up, when I got on those things, it was a pretty awesome experience just to be able to sit in the stands and just going from sitting in the stands to the other day, the first time pitching on the mound on the field here at Great American was, I described it nothing less than awesome. It was a pretty surreal feeling, and, just being that little kid in the stands to going here, never really thought it could happen. It's something we dreamed of, but I'm very thankful and blessed that it has happened, that's for sure.
Well, that really leads me to my next question here, Nate. So how do you kind of traverse that or navigate it, if you will, about, I assume you're kind of splitting time at Prasco Park, which is kind of like the minor leagues, as well as Great American Ballpark. How do you kind of mentally traverse that? Yeah, I mean, that's the thing you kind of got to grasp your head around there. I've been fortunate enough, actually, getting to stay here on the visiting side, the visiting locker room at a Great American. And so that's been a pretty cool experience. Get
a view and a tour of the whole stadium. But getting back to it, like mentally, I'm in an area where, I want to take advantage of my situation or take advantage of the opportunity. And, I want to, over this break, I prepared, stayed ready to go, threw off a mound that me and my dad built. And, I stayed prepared for this moment because I know it's going to be a shortened spring training. It's only going to be 3 weeks. And that's, I only had 3 weeks to show them what I have and what I can do. And so mentally I stay prepared and stay focused on the task and the goal, which is to break with the team.
So really, that kind of would lead into my. It's almost like you're reading my notes here, Nate. I'm kind of leading these. I swear that I haven't prepped you before this in this interview, but should you? I guess again, kind of staying with the mental navigation, if you will. Should you be in the Prasco Park throughout the season and kind of be like that mini minor league? And really, that's not the minor leagues as we know it from other years, because you'll just kind of be, I don't know, scrimmaging against one another or whatnot. If you do get that call, or even if you do make the team kind of going out of this summer camp, if you will, how do you kind of get prepared and kind of get up to game speed, if you will?
Yeah, and I think that's the fortunate thing that we're doing now that helps us. We're actually basically scrimmaging every day, anywhere from, I think our very first one was 3 or 4 innings, and we've had them up to 7.5 and 8 innings now. And so I think that really helps as far as continuing to keep that pace, to keep that game speed, and, not being too far behind when you do get that call, coming from Prasco, and they're on the same schedule that everyone at Great American is too. And so I think that helps as well. Like, we're both at both places doing the same thing. And so that will be easy for someone like myself, if I do get the call from Prasco, to come in and jump right in and just, fill in where I need to and not be too far behind.
Yeah, absolutely. So, really, for people that don't know much about you, Nate, last year you had basically a shortened season, as you had season-ending surgery to repair your torn flexor muscle in your right forearm. Then later you were of course you were at the White Sox, and then later you were traded to the Rangers, where you were on the DL for the remainder of the season, and then became a free agent. Now, do you feel any added pressure? Of course, you talked about this being your hometown team, your favorite team. As a child, you went there for perfect attendance. Do you feel like there's like an extra weight on your shoulder, or you almost need to reprove yourself to the Reds?
Well, yeah. One thing that, coming off an injury-plagued year like last year with having that surgery, the next year is always important, especially the next spring training, because you will have an opportunity or chance to prove that you are healthy. And, I think it might be a blessing in disguise that we've had these 2 spring trainings and that I've been healthy through these 2 spring trainings. I think hopefully that proves something to the Reds that, we've done it for probably, I think we were down to 5 weeks out there, and then we got another 3 weeks here. And so maybe 7 to 8 weeks of me being healthy, me pitching in games, and, showing them what I got. And so, yeah, I think this time is important. And, with it being the Reds and growing up being my hometown team, I try not to, that's the part I try not to think about. Goal number 1 is being healthy, and goal number 2 is getting guys out, and goal number 3 is, making the team. And so I try not to put that extra pressure of, everyone back home wanting to come watch the games or be a part of it, stuff like that. I try not to think about that quite yet and just focus on what I need to focus on in order to be healthy and making the team.
We're speaking with Nate Jones, of course, Reds pitcher and also a Northern Kentucky native, just right up the road here from us in Bowling Green. Nate, what do you think is like the overall feeling of the clubhouse with this pandemic? Because obviously 2020 isn't like any other season that baseball has ever seen. Maybe the 1919 pandemic with the Spanish flu could be a close relative or relation, if you will. But is there like an underlying theme for a lot of the players that, there's been talks that perhaps the season could end? You get a big outbreak of COVID in one of the clubhouses, and that's pretty much it for the season. Do you guys kind of, in the back of your mind, understand that, or is it just something that you don't really think much about?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think we understand that that's a possibility, but we also understand we want to take advantage of this opportunity as well. It is this 2020 season will be remembered forever. Like, this is going to go down in history, and we want to be a part of that history. We're here right now training because we want to play baseball, and we want to do that in the safest and healthiest way possible. So, we take these guidelines and suggestions very seriously about wearing masks, wearing gloves, hand sanitizing. Everyone is taking it seriously because we want to play baseball. And so, but we do realize, the risk that could happen, or the risk that we are taking on to play this season. But we're all willing to do that, and we're all willing to give it our best to try to prevent all that so we can have a championship season here for the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, and it's really this past week it kind of hit home in your clubhouse too, as well, with Derek Dietrich being signed back to the team, and also that he actually put a video up about his battle, I guess, if you will, with COVID-19. So it probably became really real to you guys that this isn't something that you can really just kind of I don't want to say laugh about, but I mean it's a very serious thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fortunate enough Derek shared his story and what kind of battle it was. That just proves the seriousness of the situation and how serious that we have to take these, I'll call them safety guidelines or safety measures that we're doing all around the ballpark, and not just at the ballpark, but when we go home, because it's no longer just about us and our families and keeping them safe. It's about keeping your teammates safe, your teammates' families safe. It goes on, and so there's a broader sense of responsibility to do what's right, to do what you need to do in order to stay safe and, basically sanitize.
Yeah, that's so true. And we were talking with Jeff Brantley last week on the air, and we were discussing about how the Reds had put out a PDF for some of the media like us if we're going to come up and cover a game. And I feel blessed that being a Reds affiliate, that we are one of the few people in America that could actually watch a game live this year. And just some of the things that that I know some of our fellow media, not anyone here at our station, but some of the fellow media are like, oh my gosh, I got to wear a mask. Just things like that. But people just really need to understand that we as the media, as well as the players, just really have to, you can't really laugh at this or scoff at any of these things, because it's just the nature of the business and the beast that we're dealing with right now with this pandemic.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it, because it is just greater than, what me or you believe. It is about what our teammates believe and how serious they take all the safety guidelines. And, when you see that, you want to be as super serious and super safe as you possibly can be too, but while living, a normal life. Everyone understands that there's things that each person needs to do in order just to function every day. And so, we not trying to take those things away, but when you do those things, do them as safely as possible. Wear a mask, hand sanitize before and after, and, and we just pray for the best. You do the best you can do, and that's about all you can do,
Yeah, for sure. We're speaking with Nate Jones, a pitcher and Northern Kentucky native, here on the Redlegs Radio Report. Jason Harbison with you here this morning. Now, Nate, just kind of switching gears a little bit, you obviously had some great seasons in the minors with some stops in Winston-Salem, the Kannapolis Intimidators, and the Birmingham Barons. What are your thoughts about some of of course, this past offseason, the 42 teams that will possibly be contracted? I know you're not in a front office anywhere, obviously, but possibly there's some more teams that could go under due to the COVID-19 and the shutdown of the minor league season. Is that something that maybe some players are worried about, or it could be possible some of the great teams you played with will not be around next year?
Yeah, and how crazy is that? And that really sets the tone, too, how serious this virus is and what impact it is having on everyone across this world. And, to have a minor league season canceled, and then to hear that some of those teams might be, going under or not coming back next year, and going through, like you said, some of those teams, that is really, heartfelt, because those are the places I've been and played for, and I know the grind that a minor league season is, and I know the grind what a minor league pay is. And, when you live off that during the season, and perhaps through the off season as well, if you could, it is detrimental, because that's a lot of jobs that are lost. And when you start talking about losing jobs, that's when it, becomes serious, because you always wonder, how are they going to find jobs, or what are they going to do to make it through the season without pay and things like that. And you just kind of sit back and realize, wow, this is serious. This is a serious deal. And, hopefully all that with the teams going under and maybe not coming back, hopefully that's just talk. Maybe something will happen where those teams do come back and people do get those jobs back. But I reckon there's only one way to find out. We'll find out next year exactly what will happen. But, yeah, it's a serious matter, that's for sure, and that's something, that shouldn't be taken lightly, and I don't take lightly because I've been there and I've done that. I played for those teams, and I know what the grind is.
Yeah, for real. We talked about Derek Dietrich before. He actually got a start here in Bowling Green, Kentucky, with the Hot Rods. Came up, and he's been on the show with us a couple times. And I don't know anything about the financial situation or anything like that, but I know what kind of economic impact it would have if, for chance, that the Hot Rods are on that list. So I can't imagine what it would do to this medium-sized community, let alone some of those other teams you talked about.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think I was part of maybe opening weekend there for the Hot Rods as an intimidator, I think.
Oh, yeah, because you would have been in that same division. Was that
that first year. I think we might have opened it up because I remember a bunch of Corvettes circling the outfield there.
Yes, you're exactly right, sir. Yeah, so we were actually covering that game as well. So in a small way, we've been in the same place together, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that. It was pretty awesome to see all that.
Well, kind of switching gears back, a couple more quick questions for you because we know you're super busy, Nate. We appreciate you spending some time with us today. But you've had some, this kind of more about your personal game. You've had some setbacks, as we mentioned. You had some surgeries as well as Tommy John surgery a few years back. It seems like your velocity is back from everything that we see from scouting reports, and your slider is averaging between 87 and 88 miles an hour. Now, as a pitcher, do you get hung up on speed, or is it more about just striking out guys and getting the outs, especially kind of you in the middle relief section there?
Yeah, I think I try not to worry that much about velocity, but you can tell with the reaction of hitters and how they're swinging at the ball and things like that. And, first and foremost, I want to be healthy when I'm out there. That's, you mentioned Tommy John. I had nerve reposition, and I've had this torn flexor that I had to get fixed as well. And so it's all about being healthy first, and then second is about throwing strikes and attacking hitters. That's one of the mantras of the pitching staff is, attacking hitters. And so I've been fortunate enough to do that so far this spring training, and just getting after it and continuing to do that as well would be the next goal, is just keep attacking and throwing strikes.
Yeah, definitely. So we're gonna stay on the kind of the personal note here, but not get too personal on you, Nate.
Yeah.
Now, do you still reside in the Butler, Kentucky region? Is that correct?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So that is home.
Was that so? Really, we ask a lot of players this. Was that kind of a conscious choice for you, and I guess your wife, knowing that you could essentially, once you got to the big leagues, you could really live anywhere you wanted to? Of course, you'd have to kind of commute in, or maybe have an apartment in that town where you live. But was that just a conscious choice, or just because you have so much family in the region, or you just love the region where you grew up?
Yeah, I mean, my wife and I are both from the county there, and both sides of our families are from or around there in the surrounding counties as well. And it was a place that we wanted to raise our kids. And you're right, we could have chose any other state or any other places, along with our travel with baseball. But we both felt drawn to be home, and once we decided that, we were excited about raising our kids there as well. And there's, how's that saying go? There's no place like home. So
right.
Yeah.
So really, you kind of already answered my last question for you, Nate, and that's, have you ever been to the Bowling Green area? But you already said that you played with the Kannapolis Intimidators a couple years ago, visiting here. But I didn't know if you've ever traveled through on your way to Nashville, or stopped in, or know anything about our Corvettes that are built here, or anything like that, being kind of somewhat close to us here.
Yeah, we've had a couple. My wife and I have had a couple friends go to Western Kentucky and University, and we visited them there. And, I'm a Chevy guy, so I always knew that the Corvette Museum was there. I have not had the opportunity to see it, but I knew it was there and where it was at. And I'm pretty sure, we'd have to look back a little bit, but I'm pretty sure we, as an Intimidator, opened up the stadium there that year. I think it might have been 9.
Yeah, 09 was the first year that the Bowling Green Ballpark opened. So, yeah, I think, if I remember correctly, I'll check later when we get off with you, but I'm pretty sure that was who they opened up with that season.
Yeah, and so I've got to visit a few times, and I have no no down things to say about it. All good stuff. It's a great city, great people, and I'm excited to be part of Kentucky.
Well, that's good. That's a big reason why we got you on the show today. Yeah, so thanks so much for coming on, and we really wish you the best of luck, Nate, and thanks so much for coming on the Redlegs Radio Report down here in Bowling Green, Kentucky with us.
Oh, no problem at all. Thank you for having me on, Jason.
All right, appreciate it, sir.
Bye.
All right, we'll see you.
So what's the deal with Big Green Egg Grills? Mike Keith here, letting you know if you're looking to grill, smoke, or bake on the highest quality grill out there, you need to see Bowling Green Fireplace and Grill. They have the Big Green Egg, #1 for over 25 years and with good reason. With a lifetime warranty and best-in-class ceramics, this thing is awesome. There are no chemicals in Big Green Egg lump charcoal. And Bowling Green Fireplace and Grill has the best price in town, just off the bridge on Old Louisville Road. BowlingGreenFireplace.com.
Okay, gun owners, listen up. You love to shoot, so you have to check out Tetra. Don't settle for big, hot, uncomfortable earmuffs or foam plugs. Developed by 2 hearing doctors, Tetra Alpha Shield is the best sounding, most comfortable, and easiest to use, period. Tetra is more than a hearing protection, it's hearing perfection. Get your edge back, try Tetra, risk-free for 30 days. Call now and mention SportsWeb and receive $100 off your order. 615-618-9904 or anytime at tetrahunt.com.
It just doesn't feel like summer without an ice-cold Coca-Cola in your hand. Stop by your local convenience store today and grab a 20-ounce bottle of Coca-Cola or Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. Or pick up even more delicious refreshment with a 20-ounce bottle of Diet Coke, Sprite, or Fanta. So no matter how you soak in that summer sun, at home or on the go, grab an ice-cold Coca-Cola today and enjoy.
Okay, I'm on 65 right now. Which exit do I take?
You're going to want to take I-165.
No, I'm on I-65.
No, take I-165. Should be on the sign.
I'm pretty sure that's not a 1 there. I'm pretty sure that's just another I. I-65?
Aye. Well, ahoy, Polloy.
Look, I'm looking at it. I just don't see a 1 there. It's just I-6.
Suffering from post-natural confusion? See Gary Force Paint and Body Shop. iCar Gold Shop, certified with a lifetime warranty. 311 Vanderbilt Drive behind the Scottsville Road Post Office.
Everyone knows that Furniture Merchandise Outlet is the place to go for quality furniture at everyday low prices. But did you know they beat the local competition's price by 20% or more? Stop in today and see FMO's great selection of living room and reclining furniture, bedroom, dining, and much more. Plus, they have the best warranty in town. Layaway and free financing available. Located next to Meyer and Gary Farms Boulevard.
You'll save more when you walk through our door. FMO.
Welcome back to the Redlegs Radio Report. Jason Harbison, Todd Smith. I decided to keep it Genesis, Todd.
Is that misunderstanding?
I love the song. I don't know why, but I've always liked this song. I guess it's just like the kind of the repetitive nature of it, or something that, as a young child growing up in Sydney, Ohio, I just remember hearing it on the radio. Got that out there. Yeah. You know, I was born a poor homeless child in Sydney, Ohio. I grew up a Reds fan, and I knew that the sweet sounds of Phil Collins and Mike Rutherford and what's the other guy's name? Banks or something? Tony Banks?
I don't know. Well,
yep.
Peter Gabriel was one of them.
Peter Gabriel, he was in the original band back in the 70s, and then he went off and had a solo career, and then once again, people are tuning in for Reds Talk, and here we are talking about Genesis. So, why not?
Sounds about right.
It's a normal show here on the Redlegs Radio Report. So if you missed any of our Nate Jones interview, it will be available shortly on ESPNRadio1027.com. I actually, when we went to commercial earlier, I said it wrong. It's 102 Radio. I said it wrong again. ESPNRadio1027.com. Good thing I'm not on the air talking for,
It's a good thing that's not on a sheet of paper.
It's a good thing it's not right in front of me, or there's like these little Post-it notes everywhere to tell me to say it. So, but still not enough for Jason Harbison. He's gonna mess it up. So we talked before the interview about a lot of the starting pitching. Bullpen we didn't really touch on, of who we think is going to make a difference really coming up in this first game coming back next Friday. Of course, Iglesias, Lorenzen, Garrett, Pedro Strop. We talked a little bit earlier about Stevenson, Sims, and Malley, which will probably be the two long relief guys. and some of the question marks, Kunal, Nate Jones, Todd's favorite, Cody Reed, or Sal Romano. Are those some guys that have already been really given a chance, and I don't want to say never really showed much, but it's time to let somebody else kind of step up and see what they can do?
Well, Reed and Romano for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm leaning on that.
You can't say they haven't had a shot.
Yeah.
You never know. Maybe this is their year.
Who knows? Well, Stevenson really has been one of those guys, too, that came up through the minor leagues and really was just a phenom. And everybody's like, oh, my gosh, he was so great. And he's had some flashes of brilliance up in the big leagues, but he never really has taken that next step, if you will, to be one of those solid guys. They had him in the rotation later in the year when the Reds were out of it. So it's
what
interesting.
The Cowboy says, check up from the neck.
Check up from the neck up, like you said.
It seems like he, if things don't go exactly right, he gets completely off track, and that seems to be his problem more than anything else.
Yeah, he gets runners on first and second, and then he just kind of melts down a little bit and just kind of snowballs from there. But if he can keep guys off the base pass, he's got some outstanding stuff. I mean, his changeup, a lot of his pitches are really on point, as the kids would say. So I don't know.
He has excellent stuff. I mean,
he really does.
I think it's just psychological. He needs to get it straightened out.
Yeah. So let's go down our thoughts on what we are projecting as the opening day lineup, kind of position by position here, if you will. So I think the catcher's pretty much locked up with Tucker Barnhart and Kurt Casale. Do we see top prospect and, I hate to say show regular, but he's been on the show a couple times, Tyler Stevenson, get a call? Do you think in this shortened season they're going to get him up?
Would they carry 3 catchers?
Yeah, that's the big question there. I mean, do they get him up in the short season? Essentially, his clock would start. I don't know if they want to do that just to kind of get him up. Now, he has been, in these 2 kind of training camps, if you will, summer camp, and they've seen some flashes of brilliance. There was actually a cool picture on Reds.com yesterday where he was essentially had his arm behind his back and he was catching I think they were ping pong balls. He had a bunch of ping pong balls and he was catching with his hand. He didn't have his glove on, and he was actually catching them and just kind of working on his reflexes.
That probably is a good drill.
Yeah.
A ping pong ball can do anything if you got to be ready.
Yeah, that's true. It goes back to that old dodgeball thing. If you can dodge a wrench, you can. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? First base, we won't get much into that because Votto's pretty much got that locked up. But I think there's other cases for guys there to, I don't want to say platoon, but also play Farmer, Blandino. You mentioned last week Castellanos would be a great guy to play at first base as well.
Yeah, I mean you've got an abundance of outfielders. He played third at Detroit.
Yeah,
so he can play infield, and why not?
Second base, of course, was pretty much locked up with Moustakas, I think, Farmer, and even Senzel on the depth chart might be a guy. Of course, with so many guys out in the outfield, does he get to see some times? But I don't know in this shortened 60-game season if you've got time to kind of mess around. When you've got 162 games and you're out of it by September, you can kind of get cutesy, if you will, with the Lorenzen thing in the outfield. And I'm not calling it cutesy, but you know what I mean? You can kind of take more chances. When every game counts and then some, you really can't do a lot of the little cutesy things or kind of get creative, if you will, with lineups. You pretty much have to kind of, and this is me saying this as a guy that's never managed before, but I think in my mind, I don't think you can take too many risks out there, even late in games.
No, you're trying to win this year, even though it's a shortened season, and no, there won't be time for that. Every game is ultra important.
Yeah. Do you think Freddie Galvis, moving on to shortstop, Todd, has got it locked up at shortstop? Blandino, Farmer, another 2 names there that could probably get some time at shortstop as well.
I think they'll get a lot of time at shortstop.
Yeah.
Of course, all depends on Galvis and how hot he comes out.
Yeah, and that's another thing, too. We could probably do a whole segment on that about how some of the slow starters, we talked about Votto last week, how some of those guys are going to do it in the shortened 60 season. So that's going to be, as I often say, very interesting to see. The birthday boy, today's his birthday, Eugenio Suarez, third base. I think he's got that locked up. But as you mentioned too,
you think?
Yeah, I would hope so. Coming off of the injury, of course, and Moustakas has even played some third base there. And as you mentioned, Castellanos would be not a bad choice as far as depth goes at third base, don't you think?
Yeah, they've all actually Moustakas, didn't he play third on the Kansas City
for a
championship team?
Yeah. So he's definitely got some experience there. Now, really, the big thing is as we talk about the log jam. I just kind of go with left field. So you've got Winker, Shogo, Akiyama, and then Aquino, which Aquino, of course, just got optioned back to the Prasco Park this week. And even Irvin, there's a guy that we haven't really mentioned much about. I mean, there's a guy that can make a splash out there, and maybe even in the DH role. So
yeah,
I don't know what
he's
your
a
thoughts.
good player.
All around great player.
He has been kind of overlooked, I guess. And,
yeah.
He, against left-handers, obviously, he's very good.
Mm-hmm. I would, I'd almost start Winker out there for opening day, and just kind of see, because Akiyama can really play any position in the outfield. He's one of those guys. I think they're probably going to put him in center because that's kind of where he's been playing. But I don't know. He could play really. It's going to be interesting to see where those chess pieces are going to go and where you play your cards that day, and some of the matchups with the pitchers that are going to be on the mound against the Reds. So moving on to center field, again, I mentioned Akiyama, Senzel, Lorenzen possibly, depending on how much they want to put him out there. Irvin, Jankowski is another guy that we haven't really talked about. He's got some great hair. He's probably going to start the season on the team with Aquino, probably over at Prasco. There's too many O's in all of this.
Yeah, he's a guy that will end up, especially if they're making a push, I would think, because of the speed.
Yeah.
For a pinch running. And I'd like to see Lorenzen get some time out there.
Mm-hmm.
I still say he's would be, if he had extended time, one of the better offensive players on the team.
Oh, I agree. I don't know that the 60 games this year are going to give him that much of a sample size that we can see really anything out of him. But stranger things have happened. Who knows? Right field, I think Castellanos probably has that locked up, but who knows? Again, Akiyama can play there. Irvin, another big question mark on that. But as we stated last week, Castellanos was saying that he didn't sign with the Reds because he wanted to be a DH. He wants to play right field. So that leads me to the next thing. With there being the DH this year in the short season, you've got so many options there, I think. Van Meter, Farmer, Winker, Irvin, Castellanos, Blandino, and any of these other guys where they want to move any of those kind of depth dudes, if you will. Depth, is that a technical term, I guess?
Depth dudes?
Depth dudes. Moving them up.
Dudes on the depth chart?
So if you move a depth dude, you move Castellanos to first base like you're talking about, Todd, all of a sudden Votto can be a DH. So I think you've got so many options. You've got so many bullets in your...
It is a versatile team. I mean,
yeah.
Really, if you look, almost everyone except for Votto has played in a position other than where they might be.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah. Well, it really is. And I think that... I don't know. I'm really interested to see like the daily lineup, if you will, because again, I still think you can't get too cutesy, too creative, but they've got so much depth, and I think this is probably one of the best benches that I've seen the Reds have in a number of years. Because usually it's like, there's one or two guys, Johnny Gomes maybe. So I mean, even in some of those great seasons that they had back in 2010, 2012. They didn't really have that deep of a bench, but I think now, looking at this lineup and in this projected lineup, if you will, in their depth chart, they have got, I think, probably one of the strongest benches that they've had in a while. I hope they don't prove me wrong on that and go out and lay a big egg. But I think that's what's going to, down this short stretch, since it's pretty much a sprint for the 60 games, I think that's where the cream's going to rise to the top. Same thing as we were talking about with the pitchers as well.
I think top to bottom, there's really not a lot. I mean, what is the weakness on this team?
I don't see any. I really don't see any. I mean,
it might be closer. I mean, because we don't know what Iglesias is going to do. He was, all over the place towards the end of the year, and if he's got his head screwed on straight, there's really not one.
And there really isn't. I don't think there's a bad starting five there at all. I would put any of those guys out there. Some teams would even use our 1 and 2. I mean, depending on what team you are and what kind of down year you're having, you would use any of those guys, and they could be a 1 or 2 starter on a lot of teams. And here the Reds have got them in their arsenal. So, as you say, good problem to have, Todd. Good problem to have.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, we're going to shut the show down, but don't forget to listen to us in podcast form on ESPNRadio1027.com. See, I got it right. I didn't even have to look. All these papers
if
around
only
me.
there was a piece of paper.
If only there was a piece of paper, some sort of kind of electronic equipment that would have this information for me.
Some kind of reminder.
So stay tuned. Next week we'll have another great Reds guest right here on the Redlegs Radio Report. Bye for now, everybody.
This copyrighted broadcast is presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.